Don't believe the hype show.
Every Thursday, all night.
News, reviews, and more.
Join host Barry Kelso and guests from 6:30 p.m. Thursdays, all night.
Don't believe the hype show. Don't believe the hype.
I've always wanted to do something like that. Is go to England.
Good evening and welcome to the Don't Believe the Hype show. Once again, we've got another special guest. As you can see today, we've got a young gentleman. And before we get into the show, yes, you can see he's excited to come onto our show. But before I get into the show, I just want to tell you a little bit about the Don't Believe the Hype show. The Don't Believe the Hype show sponsors Purple Light Touch Foundation. Anyone that comes onto our show will help us to get the foundation up and running, where we cater to women and young girls. If you have got a young girl who's out of school and is looking for somewhere to go, send them our way, because we will teach them computer skills. We will teach them how to work our printing machine, and we would love to mentor your girls in this 6 weeks holiday. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Don, because he's excited and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about this young man's story. So Don, tell the people a little bit about yourself for me, please.
So I'm Don. I'm 26. I am a father of 2 kids, and I'm just strive to be able to take care of the youth. Because I didn't get that growing up. So being a father of 2 and having them live with me and going back and forth with their kids' mother, what I'm saying, it's a blessing, because it's able to give me a different viewpoint on life. Because growing up, I didn't get that fatherhood or that co-parenting relationship that I deserve to see, so I can be able to see different views on how to take care of your kid, or how to be there, or how to provide, how to be a man. So I'm just very blessed to be here, taking care of my kids.
So what's it like being a father of 2?
It is a roller coaster.
What age are your children, by the way?
I have a 4-year-old born in December. He's turning 5 December, and I have a 2-year-old that's turning 3 June 1st, so this Saturday.
And before we get into anything else, if anybody out there has got any questions that they would like to ask Don, you can send us a message, and we would love to hear your opinion on how we can benefit this young man and his family. So, Mr. Don, how has fatherhood benefited you?
It's benefited me in many ways that, not a lot of people could really fathom, because, before I became a father, it's a tough subject to touch on, though I wanted to end my life a couple times, and it took for me to be a father to see how great life really is. Growing up, I didn't get that father like I deserved, like I needed. He was there, just not, when the struggle was really, present. And, it's benefited me in many ways to really see how grateful and appreciative that I can be, for the people around me that has helped me. How grateful I am for life just at that. I went through a spiritual cleanse, 7-week chakra cleanse that, benefited my spirit in many ways. And it helped me spend more time with my children. It got me to go on walks more with my children. And, I didn't get that, what I'm saying? So I'm doing my best, my very well best to give my kids what I didn't get growing up.
So how's your relationship with your, do you call her your baby's mother or your children's mother? Because nowadays we speak totally different languages, you know what I mean? So what's your relationship like now?
So I refer to her as my kid's mother. I feel like it's more formal, it's more respectful.
Okay.
I don't like calling her my baby mama, because it's just a weird phrase.
Why?
It's I grew up and I was hearing a lot of people refer, that's my baby daddy, or that's my baby mama, and to me that's, it sounds pretty weird. It's lame talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't do that. I can't classify my kid's mother as my baby mom, because growing up we looked at that as somebody that's not present in their kid's life, more of like a deadbeat.
Okay.
And my kid's mother, she's very well in her kid's life. She takes care of her kids. She's a great mother, and I'll never speak down on her life. You know what I'm saying? She's doing great things for the boys. The boys love her. And mine and her relationship is tough. You know, just like any other relationship you have with your kid's mother, your kid's father, is tough. But we make things work. You know, especially with me having a kid live with me, you know, we made the decision not to get court involved, not to get the government involved, because really, you know, they bring down family relations.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen with me and my kid's mother, me and my kids. I want them to see that we're able to work together and be able to, you know, build this life together, even if we're split, even if we're not together. You know, the kids can see that, you know, we're making this work for them. And that's what it's about at the end of the day.
That is so awesome, because many times if I'm a woman and I'm speaking on the majority of us women who's had got children who are not with their dad, you know what I'm saying? And we tend to want to, oh, well, if you don't give me child support, then you can't see the kids. And we're not realizing the detriment it's causing the children. And now the children nowadays are growing up
Yes, ma'am.
and being being pulled apart by two parents. And at the end of the day, I believe if we both made the child, we're supposed to both take care of the child, regardless of the situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Regardless if you stay together, that child didn't actually be born.
Yes, ma'am.
We chose that situation for us because we could have taken precautions.
Yeah, not a lot of people in my day and age, in my generation, they don't look at it like that. You know, they see money as everything. You know, not a lot of people that are around my age group have actually benefited themselves spiritually. They're not focused on their soul and their spirit. They're just focused on chasing money and not properly taking care of their kids. You know, letting anybody just watch their kids. You know, and that's not me. I didn't grow up that way, and I'm not going to raise my kids that way. You know, we you know, grew up by respecting our elders and only placing our kids around people that we trust. You know, and nowadays, you know, nobody does that anymore.
And that's a testament to your mom, because she could have done something different.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I don't know your mom, but I have to take my hat off to her, because she's grown you up correctly for you to be able to take care of your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you didn't have that good upbringing, then how are you going to take care of your children? Despite you saying you didn't have your dad at home, you wanted to make something different for your boys.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? So what advice would you give a father out there who's going through the same situation that you're going through right now?
Honestly, the advice that I'd give any father that's out there, no matter how old you are, you could be, you know, a teenage father, you could be early 20s, you could be early 30s, late 30s, whatever it is. The advice that I can give you, that I gave myself every day, is don't give up. You're appreciated at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day. You know, a lot of us fathers, we look at life, you know, like we're ghosts to everybody around us. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody really pays us attention. Nobody really acknowledges our presence. So it kind of makes life a little bit more difficult when we go through things, because everybody's more focused on either the child or the woman. And that's important, because I do that. I focus my life on my children and all the women around me, because they need that protection. They need that nourishment from us men. You know what I'm saying? Although us fathers need that too. So don't give up on yourself. The first person that can give you that nourishment, that love, and that protection is yourself. You can't get it from anybody around you unless you give it to yourself first. You know, being a father is very important.
So you've gone onto a spiritual journey.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
a spiritual cleansing. You learned how to do the chakras and understand who you was as a person.
Yes, ma'am.
If you didn't have your children, do you think you would have made that change?
Honestly, yeah, because I know how strong of a person I am. I've been through a lot in my life, and I know what comes with it, you know, and it is, you know, kind of difficult, though I know I don't know where I would be, though I know what decisions I could make, because the upbringing I've had since I was a kid. You know, the struggle was surreal growing up. You know, going without electricity, going without water. You know what I'm saying? Being there for weeks at a time. You know, it's hard, and I want to give my kids something different. Though I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't without them. Like I'd probably be somewhere completely different, either in prison or buried 6 feet under, if I were to be completely honest with you. So
This is a strong black man. And a lot of, I'm serious. I know
appreciate that.
You might think I'm just saying it because, like you said, you're honest, you're open, and you've told these people that the struggle was real, but you want to make a change for your children.
Yes, ma'am.
Earlier on, I said to you, well, I said something to you, and you corrected me. Go on.
She attempted to call me a single father,
Yes.
and I don't view myself as a single father. You know, I'm single and I'm a father, though I'm not a single father, because my kid's mother is very well present in her kid's life. She loves them to death. You know what I'm saying? She'll do anything to make sure they're good. And I love that. Even though we're not together, I love seeing that because my kids deserve a mother that's going to be there no matter what. And same as them deserving a father that's going to be there.
So I'm going to put a spanner in the works, right? You're a very good looking young man. I ain't going to lie to you. He's very, very good looking, right?
I appreciate it.
And what happens if another woman comes into play? How is that going to affect your relationship?
With my kid's mother? Or just in general? Honestly, I haven't really been focused on that. I'm going to be honest. I've just been completely focused on myself and my kids. And, you know, as much as I would love for me to have another relationship with another woman, I don't feel like that's best right now as I'm trying to build myself back up spiritually, mentally, and emotionally as a man and as a father. Though it wouldn't ruin my relationship with my kid's mother because we've already had that uncomfortable conversation that is now comfortable to allow each other to know that, you know, if you have somebody that you love and that's in your life dearly, you know, allow me to meet them. You know, same as her, you know what I'm saying? Because we want to be able to have a healthy relationship no matter what, so the kids can be able to see this is how things are supposed to go. So I don't think it would affect anything. It would very well be beneficial, if anything.
Did you hear that? I'm just putting it out there, and he wasn't expecting that question from me. But the reason why I asked that, because 9 times out of 10, when a man or a woman finds another partner, then all of a sudden the dynamics change in the relationship. Yes. Well, I don't want that person around my kids and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of jealousy and a lot of anger and a lot of bitterness comes into play. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that situation. Now I'm going to throw another spanner in the works. Do you believe in disciplining your children?
Yes, I do. A lot of people, when they hear the phrase discipline, they think about beating.
Yes.
They think about, oh, your kid is walking around with bruises, and like there's so many different phrases of discipline. There's so many different meanings. And one of the ones I do discipline my kids physically sometimes. I don't beat on my kids. I do whoop them sometimes. But the best one, and that's more beneficial to our children as a collective whole, is verbal discipline. When you actually talk to your kids and you explain to them what they did wrong so you can allow them to acknowledge their environment.
That's right.
That allows them to connect better and know right from wrong.
And that's so important, because there's beating and there's and discipline.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you let that child know, well, this is why you're getting this, because we talked about it, you didn't hear, so I've got to do something different. And sometimes you'll put that child in timeout. It doesn't mean nothing to that child. My granddaughter, I remember when she was growing up and she did something wrong, and she says, you don't have to tell me, I'm going to timeout. And she would go over there. So was that a punishment? Was that a discipline? No.
Yeah.
Because to her, she knew what she was doing, and going into timeout didn't mean nothing to her, because all she did was just sit there and was able to suck her thumb without no one telling her you can't suck your thumb.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So sometimes a little bit of a physical, but not to murder them, not like how when we was growing up, when our parents would, you know what I mean?
And wooden sticks and
couches and every word had 3 letters, right? Yeah. Me, say, you. That's how we used to get beaten growing up as a child.
Yeah.
So like me would have M-E, and it would be 2 E's on the word me, but you'd get 3 beatings. You remember that? Sure. those were what we got when we was growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to me, there's discipline and there's discipline.
Yeah.
and there's discipline that you still show your child love, and they will still come back and respect you
Yes, ma'am.
even after they've got the discipline.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? So have you got brothers and sisters?
Yes, ma'am. I got 3 older brothers and 1 little sister.
Oh, you do? You got 3. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I was supposed to have 2 little sisters, but I guess both of them got in a fight in the womb, so they had a little battle. But back to the discipline thing. So
You go on.
Sometimes I even make my kids do wall sits. So they get that back on the wall and they get on a 90-degree angle. That's some tough discipline right there too. You know what I'm saying? So like anything that you can do to discipline your child that's not gonna break them down.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to. Your intent shouldn't be to harm, hurt, or to break your child down. You know what I'm saying? You want to build and help your child prosper. So anything that I can do to be able to help them, physically be able to gain this respect, not just for me, but within themselves, that helps them grow.
So another thing is, when we was talking the other day, I heard you mentioning that you was going to go home and make them some burgers, and I'm thinking,
veggie burgers.
I know that's what I was going to say, and I thought, wow, you even giving your children veggie burgers. I remember growing up and eating veggie burgers, and because we was brought up vegetarian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So was it a hard transition taking them from meat to veggie burgers, or what about you and for yourself?
It was more challenging for them, only due to the consistent battle that I was going through with their mother. And, because at first she didn't, really understand what could really help the body in many ways.
Yes.
That's fruits, that's your vegetables, that's your herbs. She didn't really truly grasp on the concept of that. So I had to help reel her into that. And it took a couple months, though, overall it was more challenging for them, though for me, I just jumped off of it. It wasn't hard. It wasn't, challenging or anything. I stopped eating meat. I stopped intaking dairy like that. I went on an all fruit food consumption. And, if I felt like I was fasting a little too fast, and I throw in a little bit of vegetables, I go back to my berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, elderberries, stuff like that. So it was a good transition, though. It was just more challenging for the boys.
So are they used to the vegetarian food now?
Yes, they love it. They love it. They even be telling people if they try to offer them meat, no meat. And they'll even my 2-year-old, he's about to be 3 on Saturday. He'll even scream it out, no meat.
Oh, wow.
Like, as long as I'm teaching them good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, meat does cause parasites in the body. That's for another topic. So we ain't gonna go there right.
So have you seen a difference in how they interact with each other from eating meat and not eating meat?
Yes, ma'am. They have a lot more energy. And they're more verbal.
Give them the meat.
they're more verbal. That's one of the most important things to me, because one of the things I see, nowadays is a lot of kids, they're on a lot of dairy products, they're on a lot of meaty products, they're on a lot of snacks, and when I see those kids, they don't really talk as much.
Okay.
And seeing my kids, and even a lot of people, even out in public, they see the age of my kids and they see how my kids interact, and they always say, like, your kids are very smart. And it's one of the biggest reasons because of that is because I took them off of all that. I took them off the meat. I stopped giving them snacks like that. I stopped giving them dairy, and that eliminates those parasites, and that gives them more room and more growth for knowledge, and to be able to acknowledge what's all around them and their environment. And that's why they're so aware.
So what daily activities do you do with your children on a day-to-day basis?
We do parts. My oldest, we've been doing our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. I have a board up in the house that's for our ABCs, so I'll have them go to the board sometimes. Even my 2-year-old, he loves it, and they'll go to the board and I'll shout out, what's this letter? Where's this letter at? And sometimes we do the pronunciation of the letter.
Okay.
Instead of just like sounding it out. You know what I'm saying? And they'll go up to the board. They'll try to find it. And we've also been doing our states too. So they love doing the activity states. We're trying to find out the states, or we'll point it out instead of trying to find the state. Sometimes we'll point at the state and we'll call out the animal that's part of that state. And they love that too. And coloring. Any type of kid you got, they love coloring and painting. So always get colors and paints.
And that's good that you're giving them activities, and even teaching them a different way of life.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you're only 27.
26, turning 27.
When are you 27?
December 15th.
Oh, well, you say he's got to tell me I'm only 26. He's old enough to be my grandchild. No, he's not. I'm only lying. But what I was going to say to you is, going back to growing up as a child, and now your mom and even your dad, because even though your dad might not have been there continuously, he still had a role in your upbringing.
Yes, ma'am, he did.
What made you want to do something different for you? I know you might have touched on this earlier on, but what made you want to do something different for you as a young man?
Then, honestly, as blunt as I can put it, I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
What made me want to do something different was the amount of negative thoughts I was having daily, and that's what made me want to do different. Not just for myself, but the ones around me. Because, like I said earlier, the youth is the most important thing, and we have to continue guiding the youth as. And everything's not perfect, but as good and as smooth as possible, so they can be able to gain the knowledge that we have plus more. And, the amount of negative thoughts I was having, it put me in a mode where I was just in this dark space for so long, and I didn't like it. And I know for a fact my kids didn't like it. I know for a fact the people, my loved ones that I had around me didn't like it. And that's what wanted, me to change so bad, was because I was seeing who I didn't want to become from my far past. I was turning into that person again. And that's why I went into my 7-week shot for cleanse. And, I stopped taking medication from MHMR. I stopped going to MHMR. I completely stopped counseling from them. I got off of pharmaceutical medicine, and I completely worked on my spirit. And, that has helped me come a long way.
Because that's what I wanted to find out. When did you actually realize that you had to make a change? I know you'd made it when you had your children, but something was, and which you just touched on, that you was going to HMR, and you was on pharmaceutical drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
Because something would have had to have pushed you that you don't want this life. This is Mental Health Month. I know it's not, probably this show might not go out in May, but. And we're talking about mental health. People just think because it's May that you have to talk about mental health in May. But what about June, July, August, September, October? I don't like to have a label on a month.
Yeah.
Because mental health isn't just in January, February, March. It's all year round.
It's continuous.
It's continuous, you know what I'm saying? So next month it's going to be something different. And everybody who had mental health in May has now been pushed to the back burner because it's now somebody else's turn to get a spot in the limelight.
Yeah.
And so you telling all those other young men out there, because a lot of them have been on drugs from when there was a childhood, because they like to label us as mental health or something's going on with us, but sometimes it's not that. It's that energy and that person inside is screaming inside, I've got a voice. Hear me, instead of always hearing everybody else. Why can't you hear that I've got something that I want to say? And this is your opportunity to tell the audience and all the people out there, what have you really got to say to everybody that's out there in the community, whether it's a man, whether it's a woman, whether it's somebody who's looking after their child. You've got a voice. I'm giving you the platform to share your voice and let what you've got inside of you be heard. What can you tell the people out there?
Man, woman, child. One thing that I can say, and I'm going to continue telling everybody around me, because I tell everybody this, you are greatly appreciated. You are loved, you are cared for, you are protected. And the more you focus on your value and what you are really worth, you can create your future. You can create anything you put your mind to. So don't drag yourself down just because something's going wrong right now. Don't bring yourself down just because you might not feel like a very good parent right now. These are just days. These are just moments, small moments that we're all going through. And if you're gonna let these small little negative moments dictate on how you're gonna, continue growing in life. If you're gonna let that create you, at least let it create you to be stronger. Bring yourself up from that upbringing. Don't let yourself fall down. Because I've let myself fall down, and a little too many times. And having my two kids, it allowed me to be a little stronger. So keep being that parent that your child needs, because they need it for sure.
And if you're out there and you are a single parent, when you are that child and you brought that child into the world, that child needs you now more than anything else in the world. Even though sometimes you might not have the electric, he just told you some days they didn't have electric, some days they didn't have gas or food and all the rest of it. But you can see how he still pushed through. And now he's taking care of his two young boys. And maybe more in the future. Who knows? Nobody don't know. But right now he's taking he's decided that he wanted to do something different. Too many times as men or women, once we fall out with that parent, we become selfish, we become angry, we become bitter, because we now feel like that man don't want us or that woman don't want us. So if they don't want us and they want somebody else, we're going to make them be collateral damage, and that child becomes collateral damage. I am so proud of you. You don't even know. That's why I wanted you on my show, to know that you did not make your children become collateral damage. I see too many Maury Povich, I see paternity courts, and I see so many men who would love to have had a child and have been broken because a woman has turned around and lied to them, or I only want the child support, and they made money become more important than the child and hurting the dad. And that's why, to me, a lot of black men don't want to be in the children's lives, because of the way how we as women sometimes portray the image of, well, I just want the child support. I've seen, give me that piece of paper, give me that paper, because I just want to take him to child support. Yeah. And so now the man now don't want to be in that child's life, because if that woman can portray that on TV, what is she going to portray when she's at home with that child by herself, or that man, right? When he finds out that that child is his, and now he's angry, and the first thing he talks about is child support. Yeah. You know what I mean? Too many times that's all a child becomes, is child support. And that should not ever be the case. I had my daughter when I was 16, and they wanted me to give her up for adoption, because they said I was too young to have a child. Yeah. I looked at it from that egg, from the sperm in the egg. I knew I was pregnant, and I was determined that I was going to take care of my daughter regardless, because she was mine. I could have prevented that by keeping my legs closed, but I chose not to. And so when I had my daughter, I did everything I could to make sure my daughter was well looked after. I was only 16. I didn't know anything about having a child. You know what I'm saying? So, and I did the best I could at the age of 16. My dad helped me take care of her, my sisters, my brothers, because I come from a big family. So my daughter had enough people around her to show her the love that she needed, including myself. But the baby daddy wasn't in the scene. Never once did I think about putting him on child support. I took care of my daughter because I felt like she was my responsibility. Yeah. It wasn't that I didn't want him in the scene. He chose not to.
And you still did your thing though. And that's one thing you got to continue to acknowledge, your strength from within, and that's, from what you said a little while ago, I wanted to touch up on that. It's not just the mothers that are being stubborn sometimes. A lot of the times it's some of us fathers, especially, the men that are around my age. Yeah, a lot of men around my age that don't look at fatherhood the way I look at fatherhood. They want to be more out in the streets and drinking and hanging out with their homeboys and, trying to get a piece of, cake, you know what I'm saying? And you don't want to be that type of dude. You want to be a family man. You want to actually be in your child's life. So, it's not just the moms doing it, it's the fathers also.
And that is true. But when That's why I said I take my hat off to you, because even though your dad wasn't around, you want to make something different for your boys. But if a boy child is in the house and he doesn't know the role, how to be a father, and he saw his dad drinking and running around, and that's all he knows, then it's harder for him to come back and say, now I've got a child. But he's not looking at himself like how you had to go back and take a look at yourself. They will turn around and say, well, my dad did it and my granddad did it, so I'm going to do what they did, but not realizing this is a time where you can make a change.
Yeah.
You don't have to let society predict to you or show you what you don't really need to be.
Yeah.
But they're just going off by the role models that they are seeing. Mommy looking after the kids in the house and no daddy in the vicinity. And sometimes it's the world and the government that causes that problem, because you can only stay in the house for 3 days. Otherwise, you've got to take the full responsibility of the household.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And so if the man's got 3 days in the house, where is he going to sleep for the other 4 days? He's going to find another baby mother's yard that he can sleep in. And so now that man now has probably got 3 kids, because he can only spend 2 days here, 3 days here, 2 days at somebody else to make up the whole 7 days.
Yeah.
And you know how many men have got 3 baby mothers and 3 kids born all in the same year because of that issue? It's a society issue more than a man's issue, because that was the way the government wanted to break the role of men being in the house.
Yep. They wanted to push us men out the household to try to control the agenda.
That's right.
To control how the women take care of the kids. And that's also one of the biggest reasons why I made the mental and the emotional decision to have my kids live with me, because they needed that role model to look up to. You know, they mother love is different. I love the mother love.
Yeah.
You know, us men, we don't know what it's like to be a woman. We can't carry that. You know what I'm saying? Though, you know, being a father, it's so important, because our kids, especially at that young of an age, they need that guidance and that discipline from a role model, as you know their father should be. You know, I've seen a lot of fathers that are there in their kids' life but are beating on their kids. Their kids are coming to school, and I'm going to elementary and middle school with kids that's coming back home with bruises on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because their dad is beating on them, and I can't do nothing about it. You know, but it's sad. So, you know, being a father now, I see, you know, why a lot of people, despite that, you know, there is some fathers out there putting their hands on their kids. You know, there's still good fathers out there, and I present my hat to them.
And you are a good father.
Yes, ma'am.
So you need to pat yourself on the back, because like I said, you're only young, and you had your first child at 2021,
Yes, ma'am.
and you decided that you wanted to make a difference at such an early age. Usually most men don't come out of the house until like 35. They're still living with mommy, you know what I'm saying? And you've decided to do something different, and I really want to thank you for doing something different. You know, I keep looking at you. You remind me of the 2 boys I used to look after in England, named Rodney and Ricky. Right? I
think I remember this conversation.
I know.
Because you were talking about Jason Tatum.
Yes. Yes. And that's why, you know what I mean? And when I see Ronnie looking after his 2 boys, you don't even know how it makes me so proud to know that this young man is similar to you. He's a lot older than you now. He's going to be in his 30s. But he decided that he wanted to look after his 2 boys, and he will put pictures ever so often. I'm taking my boys to Disney World. I'm taking my boys here, and he's got 2 boys as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had those boys from when they were little, and my nephew, Jonathan. And when I see how they interact with their children and Dean, it makes me so proud to know that. And Andre, I could tell you, I've got so many family members, but it makes me proud to see so many Black men out there who are trying to do something different from our generation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming to the end of our show, and I would like to ask you one last question. What does Don't Believe the Hype mean to you?
Don't Believe the Hype means to me don't believe everything and take everything with a grain of salt. You know, there's so much things around us that we could believe and that we really can't believe. So, you know, perspect your viewpoint from every angle that you can.
Mhm.
So don't believe the hype.
So thank you all for tuning into our show. This is Don, and if you want to ask him any questions at any time, you can. And we will see you back next week for another fabulous show. I hope you enjoyed a man's perspective of taking care of his two young boys. I'm not even going to say kids because kids are goats. So I always say children. And we will see you all back next week on the Don't Believe the Hype Show. You all have a wonderful and blessed week.